Please welcome Chief Information Security Officer of AWS, Chris Betz.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this year's Reinforce. As the AWS CISO, I have had the unique opportunity to experience AWS both from a customer perspective as well as an internal perspective. After being an AWS customer for many years, I thought I understood AWS security. However, I didn't truly grasp AWS's depth of security investment and capabilities, and transitioning to this role has given me a deeper appreciation for the robust security culture that permeates AWS. We probably don't share enough about it. That's why today, I'm excited to share a glimpse of how we, at AWS, think differently about culture and security. So let's start with our culture. As a customer, when you choose a cloud provider, you enter into a long-term relationship. You need a partner that's deeply invested in security, a partner that will keep your most valuable assets safe, because not all clouds are built the same, especially when it comes to security. At AWS, we've developed a really strong security culture over a long period of time. Building and maintaining a culture requires constant investment and focus. This is important. A security culture is not built overnight and can be lost without consistent reinforcement and investment. It takes intentional, dedicated effort to grow, evolve, and maintain a culture focused on security as our top priority. Everyone from across AWS works to maintain and grow this culture. Let me give you an example. Every Friday, AWS leadership, led by our CEO and AWS security leaders, meet with individual service teams to discuss important security issues. I'd heard about this, and I thought I understood this from the outside. But after experiencing these meetings in person, I'm impressed by the impact they have on each and every day of work. As leaders, we all know that time is incredibly precious. Where we spend our time says a lot about what matters. Dedicating this much time each week demonstrates what is truly important. And each service team that joins those meetings, those developers, general managers, and product managers, all get dedicated and focused time to talk about one topic: their security. This may be one of the only times that they get to spend with their CEO this year on their service. And what subject is the CEO choosing to talk about? That's right, security. These meetings drive deep into security challenges, shape our roadmap, and demand changes, and have real business impact. It's a thorough inspection, and of course, they have a deep cultural impact. One of the messages these meetings reinforce is how we empower our service teams to deeply own the security of our products. Each team has intimate knowledge of their products and services, allowing them to make early and smart decisions on how to build these services more securely. Our service team leaders hold themselves accountable for the security of their services. And we in AWS leadership hold them accountable as well. To do this best, we need to support our service teams and help scale security best practices. That's why we created the AWS Guardians program. Guardians are engineers embedded in our service teams who develop deep security expertise and help scale security practices across AWS. As part of the service teams, Guardians are there at every step of the development cycle, from sprint planning to stand-up meetings to security reviews, to give voice to security decisions and help build more secure software. We also have and benefit from a culture of escalation. This is fundamentally part of the way Amazon operates. When there's a security issue, we are empowered and encouraged to escalate to whatever level necessary immediately. to others and at companies I've been in the past, escalations are a really sensitive topic. It can be seen as a failure or a shortcoming. At AWS, they enable us to move quickly. And at AWS, we're rewarded, we're encouraged, we're expected to act fast and decisively. And escalations allow us to do both. We value and foster this kind of behavior in our culture. It's something that happens each and every day to drive quality and prevent issues that could impact security for our customers. And finally, when it comes to security, we have to act like a unified team, and we do. I think we've all seen it before. An issue arises and teams play ticket ping pong, passing a ticket from team to team and losing valuable time. At AWS, each security-related item is rapidly escalated to the security team who assumes ownership. And ownership really means something in our culture. And they take that ownership deeply to do whatever is necessary to get the issue solved. For us, it's extremely important to lower the mean time to resolution across the whole organization. I want to share a little bit more of what I've seen in other areas. AWS has always been secure by design, defining industry-leading practices, technologies, and controls that are deeply integrated across all layers, from physical data centers to network design and service architectures, ensuring robust security and data protection for your applications and data. So let's take a look at a few examples. Let's start with the hardware. Our deep investment in security starts all the way down in the silicon. We have been at the forefront of cutting-edge silicon solutions, tailored to the unique demands of the cloud, because silicon is at the heart of every customer's workload. Therefore, we start every chip design with the security requirements. For example, at reInvent 2023, we announced Graviton 4, the most secure, powerful, and energy-efficient AWS processor ever, optimized for a broad range of cloud workloads. But as a security practitioner, there are some security features that I wanted to highlight today for the first time ever. Because with Graviton 4, we had raised the security bar even more. Firstly, Graviton 4 fully encrypts all high-speed physical hardware interfaces, including DRAM, PCIe to Nitro cards, and for dual socket instances, the chip-to-chip link to the second Graviton socket. This extends and reinforces our Nitro security, and the encryption adds defense and depth to help protect against various hardware-based attacks. Graviton's security features extend to harden the execution of instructions as well. For example, in Graviton 4, we've implemented pointer authentication and branch target identification to provide strong defenses against return-oriented programming and jump-oriented programming, ROP and JOP attacks, respectively. But having a security feature is no good unless your software actually uses it. And that's why Amazon Linux 2023 enables both pointer authentication and branch target identification for the kernel and all software packages compiled for the operating system. Finally, over the last few years, we've seen many speculative execution vulnerabilities target threads and simultaneously multi-threading SMT processors. With Graviton, we provide additional defense and depth by eliminating SMT entirely at the chip level, by ensuring that every thread of execution has its own core. So potential SMT concerns are rendered moot. And we're all familiar with decisions as security folks where we're faced with a cost where cost of performance has to be traded off for security. One of the things I really appreciate about the Graviton work is how AWS engineering teams have avoided handing that problem to our customers. Because of all the investments in R&D we do to improve the security of our silicon, you get all of these features for cheaper than other non-Graviton CPUs. Whether you use a Graviton CPU or not, another hardware-level example is where we continue to innovate and deliver is the unique security capabilities for our customers in the AWS Nitro System. Since its inception in 2017, the Nitro System is designed with security and performance at its core. Its specialized hardware and firmware are designed to enforce restrictions so that no one at AWS can access your workloads or the data running in your AWS EC2 instances. We have all benefited from this architecture on AWS Nitro-based EC2 instances released since 2018. And the Nitro System is also a critical component for securing machine learning and generative AI workloads by isolating your AI data from AWS operators. In addition, it provides you with a way to remove administrative access of your own users and software and protection of the most valuable generative AI assets, your training data, as well as your model weights. Not only do we offer you a way to achieve this, but we've also made it straightforward and practical by investing in building an integrated solution between AWS Nitro Enclaves and the AWS Key Management Service. Nitro Enclaves is an EC2 capability that enables isolated execution environments that further protects and secures processing of highly sensitive data. Enclaves are fully isolated, hardened, and highly constrained virtual machines. By default, they have no persistent storage, interactive access, or external networking. They provide only secure local socket connectivity with their parent instance. With Nitro Enclaves and KMS, you can encrypt your sensitive AI data using keys that you own and control, store that data in a location of your choice, and securely transfer the encrypted data to that enclave for inferencing. Throughout this entire process, sensitive AI data is encrypted and isolated from your own users and software on your EC2 instance. Currently, Nitro Enclaves operate only in the CPU, and that limits the potential for larger generative AI models and more complex processing. And so, we announced our plan to extend Nitro end-to-end encryption flow to include first-class integration with ML accelerators and GPUs so that you'll be able to decrypt and load sensitive AI data into a machine learning accelerator for processing while providing isolation from your own operators and verified authenticity of the application used to process the AI data. Through the Nitro System, you can cryptographically validate your applications to KMS, decrypt data only when the necessary checks pass. This enhancement allows AWS to offer end-to-end encryption for your data as it flows through generative AI workloads. 100% of the machine learning that you do on Nitro-powered EC2 instances happens in a secure infrastructure, where there's no AWS operator access to your AI data. This protection applies to all Nitro-based instances, including AWS Inferentia, AWS Trainium, and instances with GPUs like P4, P5, G5, and G6. So far, I've shared a few things that I hadn't appreciated about our culture, our silicon, and our hardware. I want to move up the stack a bit and talk about our services. Our strong focus on resilient, secure, and performant services means that we're not afraid to invent with new tools or even rewrite existing code. And while the pen tester in me loves a good memory corruption vulnerability, I really appreciate the incredible power of memory-safe and type-safe languages. In fact, last year, over 98% of packages in production at Amazon were written using memory-safe languages. For example, at AWS, we are a huge fan of Rust, and we've used it to implement many critical components because of its security characteristics. Rust offers a set of strong security advantages over a number of other programming languages and can be backed by formal verification. Through its ownership model, strict compile time checks, and built-in concurrency safety features, Rust eliminates entire classes of memory-related and threading issues that may lead to security vulnerabilities in other languages like C and C++. Additionally, Rust's minimal runtime, strong type system, and adherence to secure coding practices by default helps reduce the overall attack surface and catch potential security issues far earlier, making secure development faster and easier. Rust is the fastest growing language at AWS. It's had such an impact that we've actually rewritten a lot of our critical code in Rust. For example, one team that took advantage of Rust characteristics is Amazon S3. The team used Rust to write a new storage layer from scratch called Shardstore. With S3's rapid growth, scaling, performance, and efficiency are more critical than ever. Using Rust, the team was not only able to optimize the code for the I/O performance characteristics of modern storage hardware, but also introduced memory-safe, type-safe, and formally verified secure code. Rust is an open source language. It's got an amazing and vibrant growing community, and we feel like it's crucial that we contribute back to this ecosystem. For example, last year we released AWS Libcrypto for Rust. It's an open source cryptographic library that provides highly performant cryptographic capabilities. Libcrypto for Rust adds two important capabilities for developers: support for FIPS and experimental support for post-quantum crypto. And we used automated reasoning and formal verification to locate bugs and increase the assurance of the correctness and security of the library. This library has been downloaded more than 129 million times, and it's the default crypto library for Rust LS, removing a major roadblock for safer TLS in many organizations. I'm excited about the future of Rust. We're excited about the future of Rust, and its use continues to grow internally at AWS and globally. One of the biggest differentiators in our security strategy is the strong emphasis we place on a concept called a security invariant. You can think of a security invariant as properties or conditions that most hold true for a system to be considered secure. They work backwards from universal statements about security and user behavior. And of course, making a statement isn't enough. An invariant has to be codified in a mechanism, codified in a set of tools that help ensure that the statement is true, and as an invariant, as a true invariant, it's never violated. In that way of thinking, you can think of a security problem as a violation on an unstated invariant. It's demanding for us to state and codify a new invariant. Invariants are important on their own, but together they build a really important concept: an AWS security ratchet. We're all familiar with ratchets. When you turn them one way, you tighten the system. Like bolts on a bike, they turn smoothly. However, when you turn the ratchet the other way, nothing happens. And at AWS, we think of each invariant as turning our security ever stronger, each learning improving security. And by codifying not only in statements, but also in mechanisms and tools, we avoid that slipping backwards. The more invariants we test and fix, the tighter the ratchet gets. And we continuously add new invariants, creating a continuous loop and a tight feedback loop. And this loop, it's a mechanistic way to avoid future regressions. And it's something that I see other CISOs implement as well. So I just mentioned test and fix briefly. Testing is an important concept to ensure that the system behaves in an expected way. We do both positive testing, where we test the system with valid inputs and expected conditions to verify that it works as intended, and negative testing, where we test the system with invalid inputs and unexpected conditions to identify potential errors and vulnerabilities. Both these tests, however, are limited by the types and range of inputs. But what if you could test for all potential inputs? Automated reasoning considers infinite possible inputs for systems, algorithms, and configurations to raise the bar on security. Automated reasoning refers to the use of formal logic-based techniques and tools to analyze and verify the correctness of software systems and cryptographic protocols. So what is automated reasoning in simple terms? Automated reasoning enables us to see what behaviors a system is capable of and then identify unwanted behaviors to fix them. For complex systems, the possible inputs to consider can be very large or even infinite. We can do better. Automated reasoning techniques use formal logic to explore that infinite space in just a few seconds. And they do it systematically and exhaustively. When it comes to security, we use automated reasoning to verify the correctness of cryptographic protocols, authorization logic, and consistency of storage systems. We also use automatic reasoning to enable customers to prove there is no unintended access by reasoning about policies and network controls. And finally, we use automatic reasoning to verify security mechanisms such as firewalls, intrusion detection systems, or security coding practices. So let's take a look at how we leveraged automated reasoning while reinventing our authorization system. Earlier this year, we launched a new engine that handles all AWS identity and access management policy evaluations. To put this in perspective, IAM handles over 1 billion API calls per second worldwide. Using automated reasoning, we implemented a prove and test process to verify that the new engine precisely matched the behavior of the old system for all possible inputs. In addition, every change to this critical component of AWS is thoroughly verified to ensure it does not produce unintended and potentially insecure behaviors. Finally, using the guardrails provided by automated reasoning, we were able to aggressively optimize the engine's performance without compromising correctness. And as a result, the new engine significantly outperforms the old version. Also in the IAM space, last year, here at Reinforce, we released Cedar, a purpose-built open source authorization policy and evaluation engine that you can use to express fine-grained permissions in your application. It supports common authorization models like role-based access control and attribute-based access control, RBAC and ABAC. And it's the first policy language built from the ground up to be verified formally using automated reasoning. Look, when we open sourced Cedar a year ago, the hope was that our customers would check out the code, make sure it's as secure as we claimed, and maybe the community would build something new out of it. You blew us away. We are seeing new projects started on Cedar at an incredible rate. And in less than a year, 6 separate startups have developed paid features powered by Cedar open source project. Features that simply weren't possible before AWS invented this technology and released it to the world. And we're continually impressed by the speed and innovation of the AWS community. Another critical internal AWS component that relies heavily on automated reasoning is a tool that reasons about the correctness of network access control lists that configure and protect AWS infrastructure and networking. This tool validates a given ACL against an invariant that specifies what traffic must be allowed or disallowed by the ACL, and it does it extremely fast. Capabilities blew me away when I found out. Digging in, it's capable of reasoning about upwards of 10 to the 94th possible IPv6 permutations of an ACL policy, roughly 8 million times per day, and performs each evaluation in less than a second. 10 to the 94th is just an absolutely incomprehensible number. For reference, this is more than all estimated atoms in the observable universe. That's about 10 to the 82nd. There are a couple more examples, like S3 and Amazon Inspector, but the list doesn't end there. S3 Block Public Access uses automated reasoning to provide controls across an entire AWS account, or at the individual S3 bucket level, to help ensure objects never have public access, now or in the future. Amazon Inspector leverages automated reasoning to help customers discover open network paths to EC2 instances in their environments. And the list doesn't end there. As you can see, we employ automated reasoning techniques across our stack to analyze and verify the security properties of our software, systems, protocols, and access control policies. Taking a step back, I think it's really important to emphasize that security is about trust. We earn your trust, and you need to be able to assure your customers that you are trustworthy in turn. One way that customers expect us to make that tangible is through our security standards and compliance certifications. AWS supports 143 security standards and compliance certifications, such as PCI DSS, the list is you behind me. Therefore, AWS can help our customers satisfy compliance requirements around the globe. One customer that chose AWS and benefits from our security certifications is O2 Telefonica. O2 Telefonica is a major European telecommunications provider. You end up using them every time I'm in Europe. They launched a new 5G core network built entirely in the cloud using Nokia and AWS. Telecommunications are a highly regulated industry, and O2 Telefonica chose to use AWS to build its new solution because of the data security and sovereignty capabilities of AWS, as well as the improved performance, efficiency, and elasticity that AWS services provide. O2 Telefonica was able to build a highly secure, scalable, and agile system on AWS that met their stringent security requirements and operational requirements while improving operational efficiency. So we've talked about how security is built into our infrastructure, from hardware through our services, but our security work doesn't stop there. At AWS, we invest deeply in security teams and internal tools that work behind the scenes to provide you with the most secure infrastructure so that you can focus on building your services and business securely. When you choose to run on AWS, you get to inherit a world-class security team. I want to help you understand a little bit more about what that means. So let's take a deeper look at how we handle threats. Last fall, we talked a lot about MadPot, one of our threat sensor systems. And while honeypots are important, I want to share a little bit more about another internal security service that helps us protect against attempts to target AWS infrastructure. We call it Sonaris. Look, it won't surprise you, AWS runs a gigantic infrastructure. And as attackers attempt to conduct malicious activities, some of these activities will hit AWS-owned and operated infrastructure. Sonaris analyzes network traffic and service logs for malicious behavior and service scanning activity aimed at AWS infrastructure. For example, Sonaris identifies scanning or attempted connection to a large number of AWS IPs, accounts, or instances to find vulnerabilities. Sonaris combines this threat intelligence with data from many other sources, including MadPot, network traffic and service logs from AWS-owned infrastructure, and it uses these inputs to publish contextualized mitigation recommendations that alert or trigger automated response. These recommendations are sent automatically to a number of services, AWS Shield, VPC, S3, and WAF, for example, to protect customer resources from unauthorized activity right away. Let's look at a specific example of where we were able to use Sonaris to help customers stay safe. All right, I don't want to see any hands, but I'll ask anyway. Who here is creating long-term credentials like access keys for console access? If so, come find me after the keynote. But by now, I think we all know that the security best practice is to use temporary security credentials such as IAM roles. But some customers don't always follow this best practice. When Sonaris detects that IAM keys are in use by unauthorized parties, it immediately reports them to our fraud investigations team. In some situations, AWS can act right away to temporarily limit damage. And when we can't, we contact customers about the compromised keys, provide detailed instructions to rapidly mitigate the issue. To put this at scale, Sonaris sees a lot of malicious traffic. Let me just give you 2 examples. In the past 12 months, Sonaris denied, not just saw, but denied over 24 billion attempts to enumerate S3 buckets and prevented nearly 2.6 trillion attempts to discover vulnerable services on EC2. This is a staggering amount of work. Happens behind the scenes to ensure that your business remains uninterrupted. And by making AWS and the wider internet a safer place, we can focus on what really matters: innovating safely for your customers. I believe that hearing from customers is the ideal way to show our ideas in action. And to talk more about security culture and practices at scale, I would like to welcome Eli Lilly's AVP of Security Architecture and Engineering, Ash Edmondson. Thank you, Ash.
Hey, good morning. It is so great to be here with all of you. I want to start by sharing a quick personal story. Imagine for a moment that you're about to leave to go speak at this conference, and you have to leave your handsome, super well-behaved, perfect rescue dog Clyde with your friend Allie. As you hand over the keys to your house, you feel a lot of emotions. Trust, because Allie's great. She's got a great track record, super reliable. But you're also a little worried, because let's face it, things can go wrong. And that's why, even though I trusted Allie when I handed her my keys on Saturday, I'd be crazy if I didn't have some security and monitoring measures in place. I've got some cameras, I've got this GPS tracker on Clyde's collar, I've got a big wall in the yard that hopefully he still can't get over yet. I know when he eats. Some might say that I'm a little bit over the top with this, but hey, I do threat modeling for a living, so we're gonna cut me a little bit of slack here. And Allie's great at letting me know if something's wrong, but I can still check in on Clyde as much as I'd like for my own paranoid peace of mind. See what he's doing now. Yep, he's a good boy. There he is coming inside. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, trust. Specifically, building trust in the cloud. At Lilly, we've embraced a cloud-first strategy, and we've been working on some really innovative projects in AWS, but none of that would be possible without trust. For those who don't know, Lilly is a medicine company, and we've been turning science into healing to make life better for people around the world since our founding 148 years ago. We've pioneered some major breakthroughs like insulin and the polio vaccine, and we've worked to make sure that these discoveries can reach the people around the world who need them the most. So you can see we've got a pretty important mission here. So what does trust in the cloud look like at Lilly? Just like I enhance my trust in Allie with preventative, detective, and proactive measures, AWS offers tools and safeguards for visibility and control. Trusting a cloud provider means leveraging their expertise while maintaining oversight. It's really about finding that right balance between control and delegation. At Lilly, we've been working hard to build trust in the cloud. So let's talk about a quick example. We recently moved SAP into AWS. And in order to make this possible, we had to extend Azure AD into AWS. We couldn't get around it. We had to make a whole new org, Our identity team had to run it, and they needed root access control. The problem was our identity team was not familiar with administering AWS, let alone running domain controllers in AWS, which I'm sure you've all thought about, and it's a little scary. But ultimately, we got a secure result that we could really easily run and control. Well, how did we do that? In our team's own words, they actually told me this when I asked them. Their design philosophy was ruthlessly enforcing least privilege access. We have no standing privileged access. Admins have to activate roles via PIM. We've got second-person approval required for activations to our accounts, just to name a couple of things. And we were able to use this AWS blog article right here that you can check out. AWS Control Tower really was the key here. We were able to stand up something quickly, it was secure, it was well architected. We were able to disable any unneeded AWS services, and we were able to use those preventative, detective, and proactive controls. See, there they are again. And these are things like SCEPs, AWS config, CloudFormation templates. It's not rocket science, but you got to do it right. We enabled security and logging services, obviously, but we were able to use frameworks to align our configurations with industry best practices. So we really knew what we were getting. Another big thing we recently did was we recently migrated our federated roles to AWS IAM Identity Center, which is also no small undertaking. And this streamlined our developer interactions with AWS. It removed dependencies on custom tool sets. I'm sure you guys have built something like that in the past too. And it just turns into tech debt, right? And we were able to enable some future cost savings, which I'll take every day of the week. With the support of AWS solution architects, we moved over 1,000 individual AWS accounts to Identity Center. We reduced over 2,000 unique IAM permission sets down to just 600. And we analyzed and reviewed over 19,000 roles. Not bad for a day's work, right? But building trust isn't just about those big migrations. It's about the day-to-day work, too. You know, we can't just lecture our dev teams. I've tried it. It doesn't work. They have to help where we target our proactive guidance, and we've got to be actively involved in threat modeling together. We need to establish those sensible guardrails, but they're really our eyes and ears when our solutions are being built. So they've got to have some solid training of their own, but they also have to be able to get accurate security feedback quickly. We have to be transparent with each other, but we need to share continuous feedback for this to work both ways. We're so invested, in fact, in cloud adoption and awareness that our tech leadership team members, including me, were busy studying for our required cloud certs due in September. And we don't do it alone. We leverage expert advice from the AWS security team, and we incorporate their recommendations. Just a few weeks ago, I was able to get in touch with a leading AWS expert on threat modeling Gen AI workloads, because I had a lot of questions. I'm sure a lot of you do too. In fact, I think she's sitting somewhere over here. Her name's Anna Malhotra. She's amazing. Hi, Anna. Surprise. Wave. There you go. So pull out your phones and check this out. A lot of our questions were actually already answered by a threat model and talk that she and some of her colleagues gave back at reInvent last year. And this helped me build the trust that I needed to leverage Gen AI in AWS for some of my own innovation around threat modeling. So what have we learned? Trust in the cloud is about finding that right balance between control and delegation. It's about putting in place robust security measures, cultivating that culture of transparency and collaboration, and seeking out expert advice. Our journey to build trust in the cloud is not unlike the trust that I built with Allie to care for handsome, wonderful, perfect Clyde while I'm away. It's an ongoing process, but by prioritizing trust at every stage, we empower our teams to innovate fearlessly and push the boundaries of what's possible in the cloud. So I leave you with this question. What could you achieve if you made trust the cornerstone of your own cloud journey? I can't wait to hear all about it. Thank you.
Please welcome back Chris Betz.
Ash is right. Security is about trust, and we have to put that trust in the right place. And, ironically a little bit, that starts with zero trust. Now, last year, We talked about our ongoing investments in helping customers achieve a strong security posture in the cloud by providing them with the necessary tools to implement zero trust architectures and establishing the right security perimeters for their organizations. We know that organizations with robust zero trust architectures are better protected against cybersecurity incidents. And at last year's Reinforced, we announced new capabilities with Amazon Verified Permissions, AWS Management Console Private Access, and AWS Verified Access. We are continually investing in capabilities to make zero trust even easier and more cost-effective. Look, adopting a zero trust architecture can be challenging. It requires setting up complex network segmentation, enforcing detailed access policies, which can be difficult and varied in complex environments. Zero trust also needs strong identity and access management systems with detailed and granular access controls, continuous verification, and minimal privileged access. Many organizations use hybrid environments where workloads and data are spread through local and multiple clouds, making it tough to maintain uniform security policies. And with ever-expanding application landscapes and workforce that is even more mobile, it's essential to implement a zero-trust architecture that can effectively manage security across a variety of devices and locations without sacrificing performance or usability. To address these challenges, today, I'm excited to announce several new capabilities that'll make it easier for organizations to implement their zero trust architecture. To begin with, to help customers manage mobile devices securely and at scale, today we're announcing the preview release of AWS Private Certificate Authority Connector for simple certificate enrollment protocol. This new capability enables you to use AWS Private CA with popular mobile device management solutions and significantly reduce the time and money it takes to manage your own public key infrastructure operations using a managed private CA with a managed SCEP service from AWS. Also, earlier this year, we started rolling out a new program enforcing MFA, starting with the management account root user for AWS organizations. This will help customers safeguard their user accounts against credential attacks and reduce the risk of account takeover. Look, we heard from many customers that they would like greater flexibility with additional user-friendly multi-factor authentications at sign-in time. And so today, we are excited to announce the general availability for Passkeys as second-factor authentication in AWS IAM. Customers can now use the built-in authenticators on their phones and laptops to add cryptographically phishing-resistant credentials to their sign-in experience. And finally, to guide customers on their least privileged journey, today we're excited to announce a new IAM Access Analyzer capability, recommendations for unused access findings. Using automated reasoning, Access Analyzer offers findings that enable security teams to centrally view unused access across their organization and get prescriptive guidance, policy recommendations to help them address the findings and refine unused access. This feature is part of AWS's growing cloud infrastructure entitlement management capabilities and is offered at no additional cost. These 4 new capabilities signify another step in enabling organizations to implement robust zero-trust architectures that work for them, regardless of their size, industry, or complex security requirements. While implementing zero trust is a critical step in enhancing an organization's security posture, to continually maintain and evolve your zero trust models, you also need robust monitoring and data analytics capability. In 2022, you all remember when we launched Amazon Security Lake to help customers achieve a more complete understanding of their security posture. Security Lake enables customers to centralize and analyze all security-related data, both from within and outside of AWS, by automating the processing the process of sourcing, aggregating, and managing security data across an entire organization. Security Lake supports over 100 sources of data from AWS and external and third parties. Consolidating security data from various sources facilitates powerful insights and streamline your threat hunting and incident response. We have many customers that rely heavily on Security Lake. For example, Torque Robotics uses Security Lake to effectively collect VPC flow logs and custom data sources. Siemens is using Security Lake to consolidate security findings from third parties, and Hewlett-Packard Enterprise uses Security Lake to improve visibility. Amazon Security Lake is the first data lake that supports the Open Cybersecurity Schema Framework, OCSF. And over 70 partners have built integrations or solutions that integrate or are built on top of Security Lake. And our partners continue to build. For example, we're excited that Splunk is enhancing their integration with Security Lake with a preview launch in Q3 of new capabilities that provide built-in support for security operations center use cases, such as monitoring, detection, threat hunting in Security Lake using OCSF. Customers are able to perform just-in-time indexing for high-performance, low-latency use cases, as well as search data in place for large volume data sources without requiring data movement for investigative use cases. Earlier this year, we talked about the importance of comprehensive monitoring and automation to enable security teams to scale and reduce their mean time to resolve. However, achieving truly comprehensive monitoring and automation is challenging. This is due to a few things. First, the constantly evolving threat landscape. Second, the need for seamless integration across diverse systems and tools. And finally, the complexity of maintaining accurate and up-to-date configurations as environments change over time. And that's why earlier this year, we released support for EC2 runtime monitoring and GuardDuty. This capability helps you identify and respond to potential threats in your AWS environment. And with this release, you now have the ability to have a GuardDuty solution for all your AWS compute and serverless services. EC2, EKS, ECS, Lambda, Fargate, all are covered. Monitoring your compute for malicious activity is great. But what about storage? Amazon S3 is foundational to many modern solutions, with more than 350 trillion objects and exabytes of data stored. Having the ability to scan these objects for malware is imperative. And that's why today, I'm excited to announce the general availability of malware protection for S3 and Amazon GuardDuty. This is a significant expansion of GuardDuty malware protection that provides fully managed, scalable protection for any S3 bucket across the organization. This feature will enable you to automatically scan files for malware as they're uploaded to S3, and optionally tag scan results to automatically contain files identified as malware. With just a few steps, you can enable malware protection on any S3 bucket without degrading the scale, latency, or resiliency that you come to love in S3. We're very excited to bring you this new functionality, and we're here to help identify and implement the right solutions. We have security experts across AWS that can help with training, consultation, support, response, and managed services. Together with our community of security partners, our AWS security experts help you move fast and stay secure so you can accelerate your business transformation. Customers across virtually every industry leverage our vast team of AWS security experts to raise the security bar within their organization. Customers like Canva, who worked with AWS Professional Services to improve cyber threat visibility, identify current threats, analyze details of historical threats, and maintain strong customer trust. With more than 200 services in over 33 regions, comprehensive security tools and libraries, and a large team of security experts, it is no surprise that customers choose AWS as their trusted cloud provider. Let's hear directly from some of them.
AWS was there when the company was just two people at a coffee shop and an idea. At Keon Space, we serve several sets of customers across space, defense, and intelligence customers. We make sure that satellites coordinate their operations around each other and don't accidentally run into each other.
WorldConnect services over 150,000 customers. Our goal is to deliver fuel and other energy sources to our customers as efficiently as possible.
We are Gaggle. We are an education technology company focused on safety and health and well-being of students.
Carrier provides the safe transport of perishable items, whether that is food, medicine, or vital vaccines. It's a temperature-sensitive supply chain. AWS, through the protection of data, enables us to deliver on that promise.
Cybersecurity threats are continually growing, and we need to match that pace. With us in the cloud, we're able to introduce security in a more on-demand and agile way.
By making sure that satellites fly safely, we are ensuring that our modern way of life is protected. All of that relies on processes that need to stay safe and secure. AWS helps Kehan plan for the future by providing the best infrastructure possible.
We have enterprise levels of data. We have to be on the most secure platform to protect the personal identifiable information coming in from our students.
AWS has been there throughout this entire journey.
To understand how to safeguard what we're building.
When our customer data was at risk.
And we believe that AWS will be there when our customers need us the most.
With generative AI being top of mind for most organizations, I want to reiterate that AWS is the best place for running your machine learning and generative AI workloads. Our goal is to provide the most choice and the best security capabilities across all three layers of our generative AI stack. At the bottom layer, we have our secure AI infrastructure, which includes zero access to sensitive AI data, such as AI model weights and data processed with those models by any unauthorized person, either at AWS or at our customer. It's comprised of three key principles: complete isolation of AI data from the infrastructure operator, ability for customers to isolate data from themselves, and protected infrastructure communication. The middle layer of our Gen AI stack consists of Amazon Bedrock, our fully managed service that offers a choice of high-performing foundational models from leading AI companies like AI21 Labs, Anthropic, Cohere, Meta, Mistral AI, Stability AI, and Amazon, all accessible with a single API. You can think of Bedrock as a safety harness around foundational models and Gen AI solutions. Bedrock is built with the same industry-leading features of AWS that other services are like IAM and KMS. In addition, Bedrock can leverage VPC to control traffic while also providing multi-tenant isolation and strong encryption for all inter-network traffic and model customization. Customers always own a private version of their model, and any improvements or customizations to the base model are private and only accessible to that customer. And we recently announced Guardrails for Bedrock, a new feature that enables you to create and apply guardrails to any foundational model based on your use case, providing an additional layer of safeguards. Guardrails help customers block up to 85% more harmful content than protection natively provided by the foundational models on Amazon Bedrock. And at the top layer of the Gen AI stack, we provide builders with tools and services to help them write more secure and robust code. Amazon Q Developer, our Gen AI powered code assistant, provides security vulnerability scanning and remediation by scanning code for hard-to-detect vulnerabilities, things such as exposed credentials and log injection. And in the DevSecOps space, Amazon Inspector integrates with your CI/CD pipeline to perform security scanning and mitigation of your application code to ensure that security vulnerabilities are detected and mitigated before your application is deployed. And on the business side, Amazon Q Business helps secure all data connections between your apps designated in Q Business and your data sources using least privileged access controls. Finally, Amazon Q Apps inherent user permissions, access controls, and enterprise guardrails from Amazon Q Business, enabling secure sharing and adherence to data governance. We also have a number of AWS services around the three-layer stack that facilitate the secure usage of AI technology. One of these services is Amazon GuardDuty, which can detect suspicious and potentially malicious activity in generative AI workloads. Things like abnormal removal of bedrock security guardrails, change of modeling training source, and suspicious model usage. In addition, we're also integrating AI into our security tools and services so that they can provide you more proactive, intelligent, and intuitive capabilities. Take, for example, the natural language querying improvement we added to AWS Config, which simplifies the investigation and search of AWS resource configurations and compliance data. International Airlines Group is using the natural language query generation in AWS Config to speed up exploring configuration and compliance data by 60%. In line with their goal to deliver better customer experiences, more efficient operations, more sustainable aviation, and a better performing business overall. And today, I'm excited to announce the preview of natural language query generation in CloutdTrail Lake. This new feature will enable customers to easily and quickly analyze their AWS activities in CloutdTrail Lake without having to write complex SQL statements. Powered by generative AI, this feature will simplify audit, security, and operational use cases. For example, you can ask how many errors were logged during the past week for each service, and a CloutdTrail Lake query will be generated. The user can fine-tune the query as is or submit it. We continue to look for areas where generative AI can have a real impact, helping you detect threats more accurately, respond to incidents faster, achieve better compliance, and enhance your overall security posture. With over 96% of all AI and ML unicorns and 90% of the 2024 Forbes AI 50 running on AWS, we are seeing customers across every industry trusting AWS. One of these customers is Amazon. And so I'd like to invite on stage Steve Schmidt, our CSO for Amazon, to talk about their approach to integrating generative AI securely across Amazon. Welcome, Steve. Thanks, Chris.
Hey folks, when we started Reinforce in 2019, we knew internally that we wanted to bring our community together, to learn from each other, to network, and most importantly, to create spaces for you to share how you're building and innovating securely using the best in cloud computing. In that first keynote, I made 5 important points, 4 of which Chris has already covered. The need for a strong security culture, that security should be everyone's job, the need for a distributed model as a key to scale, along with the necessary tools and mechanisms. The 5th point that I made back then was how machine learning and AI would quickly transform the way we operate as security professionals. At Amazon, we've been building and securing AI solutions for many years, from introducing Kiva warehouse robots in 2012 to inventing Alexa in 2014, and launching Amazon Macy at the New York Summit in 2017. AI helps us cover more security ground more quickly and effectively, given the same investment in security engineering staff. And let's face it, who has ever said, I have plenty of resources and I'm done with securing things. That just doesn't happen. On the cloud, things are moving fast and change is constant. However, the fundamentals of security are evergreen, like our strong guidance and push for multi-factor authentication. You heard me talk about MFA many times, Chris talked about it today, yet for some reason it isn't as widely adopted as it should be, which has resulted in some unfortunate security lapses that you've heard about recently. By the way, these security fundamentals also apply to your data and associated AI workloads. Now, I don't think you'd be shocked to learn the #1 topic on everyone's mind this year has been AI. Teams across Amazon have been diving deep on these technologies for years, over a decade. Generative AI represents the latest iteration of this journey of us securing it for its use for our customers. At last year's reInvent, I shared 3 high-level questions that help frame our thinking on the security of AI. #1, where is our data? #2, what happened with my query and any associated data that goes with it? And #3, is the output of these models accurate enough? Driven by these questions, we created a framework internally that we call the Generative AI Security Scoping Matrix. We use this framework to help customers define the security requirements of their AI projects. The matrix provides visibility into the unique security implications for AI-enabled applications, and it highlights the areas that you as a developer need to think about across governance and compliance, legal and privacy, risk management, security controls, and overall resilience, whether you're using a public generative AI service, self-training a model, or you're somewhere in between. Chris already covered how AWS is creating security controls at each layer of the Gen AI stack and how they make them easier to use. So to extend this, I'd like to cover what we are building at Amazon on top of this foundation. Because of this approach can be replicated by any business to help raise their security bar. As we heard earlier, a core tenet of our security culture at Amazon is we distribute security expertise and ownership across the organization. Like all teams at Amazon, we practice a two-pizza approach, which empowers our teams to work independently and quickly. When a technological shift like AI becomes more readily available for everyone, this can challenge our cultural approach. Deep expertise on AI security is being rapidly developed, but like most specializations, organizations start with a limited number of people who can directly solve these challenges. Finding AI talent is hard. Finding security talent is hard. Finding the talent that understands the intersection of those two, obviously even harder. Because of this, there is a temptation to put gates in place to ensure that the few people that do have that expertise have eyes on all of the work that is happening. After all, security is our top priority, and if you're here, it's probably yours as well. Making sure that work is double and triple checked by those experts, it's a logical move, but it does not scale. In practice, putting up more gates and roadblocks will result in 2 things, both of which are bad. #1, your business will move more slowly. #2, software developers are smart people. They will try and route around the security teams. These are not outcomes that I want for my business. I doubt very much you want them for yours either. What we need to do instead is implement the appropriate guardrails to help our teams innovate more quickly. With proper guardrails in place, researchers, developers can explore the full capabilities of generative AI systems safely. This is the ideal environment where rapid testing, iteration, and innovation can take place. We found that balance internally by creating a core team that focuses on AI security. Their job is to build scalable security solutions which can be used by any developer at Amazon. This team is part of my organization, but they work across the company. Critically, and this is truly critical, this team is not a gatekeeper. They aren't the way to production. They're the gas pedal for everyone, builders and security. This team is working just as much on connecting people and resources throughout the company as they are on establishing the use cases and tools to help developers accelerate their process of delivery. Our team's been building the necessary tools, the mechanisms, and the guardrails to empower our engineering teams to innovate faster and more securely. These elements enable efficient and effective security operations, ensuring that potential threats are identified and mitigated promptly. This flywheel, by the way, and if you've heard Amazon speakers before, flywheels are a thing we talk about quite frequently. This flywheel has momentum, and the momentum results in an extraordinary amount of work being done in a very compressed timeline, delivering real solutions into the hands of customers quickly and securely. This team has delivered 4 key accomplishments that I want to share with you today because I think they can be reflective of what you want to do with your work. This work is helping builders across the company to make better security decisions when building with AI, and I believe they're things that you can implement at your business as well. The first step was to create a generative AI security standard. It gives our developers clear guidelines for handling confidential data and the testing requirements for models, prompt workflows, and AI-enabled applications. The standard removes ambiguity and sets expectations for builders, enabling them to integrate security measures in their AI-enabled applications from the very start, rather than as an afterthought. By the way, if you were trying to bolt security onto anything, much less generative AI, afterwards, you are way too late. The team also created a threat modeling guide for builders specific to AI applications. Threat modeling is an area we've invested in deeply at Amazon because it leads to a lot of very positive security outcomes. The guide helps teams work through the risks facing their specific applications and explore how to best mitigate each risk in a systematic manner. This structured approach helps inform design decisions, making sure that teams are using their limited resources to maximum impact. Most importantly, though, this work leads directly into new tool development for our teams to help test the security posture of their AI-enabled applications. You've heard us speak quite often about that, about how policy, procedure, examination should always turn into mechanisms, and those mechanisms are expressed as tools quite often in the work that we do. For example, our team built a test harness that tests how we deal with interesting prompts. As we learn about new esoteric attacks against generative AI applications, we put that knowledge in one place so that everybody across Amazon can automatically benefit. Anyone in the company building with generative AI can benefit from the learnings of other teams so that we continue to improve our security posture across the organization automatically. The team has tied these 3 accomplishments, setting a security standard, sharing threat modeling guidance, and testing tools with the 4th piece, that's security reviews. As we've said many times in these presentations, and Chris talked about a little bit today, we conduct a lot of security reviews in Amazon. These reviews help ensure that all of the other mechanisms that we've put in place are working correctly. Adding specific security review tasks for AI-enabled applications closes that loop. Reviewers now have detailed actions to verify the security of AI-enabled applications, and these tasks are continually updated as our teams learn more about securing AI. One important point about AI security that many people have not yet understood. You've heard us talk about how our standard is we perform an application security review of and penetration test every AWS service before it's launched. We re-execute those application security reviews when there are significant code changes. However, in the world of foundation models and AI, the model is the code. And AI applications' responses change over time as users interact with them. What does this mean? It means you're never, quote, done, unquote, with AppSec reviews for AI apps. You have to transition from a point-in-time AppSec review process where code remains static into a constant review and audit process. That paradigm shift has driven us to build the guardrails and test harnesses for our developers that I talked about before. You should consider using services like Amazon Bedrock, which help you implement rapidly evolving, constant review guardrails. These 4 things, the Generative AI Security Standard, Threat Modeling Guide, internal tools, and security reviews, help guide and validate the work done by our builders, ensuring that we continually raise Amazon's security bar. Now, what I've shared with you today is not perfect. It's not designed to be. We've taken this approach to build the tools and mechanisms for our engineers to learn and to innovate. We're practicing our cultural tenet of distributed expertise and ownership across the organization. This approach has enabled teams at Amazon to ship AI-enabled solutions at a rapid pace and securely, creating a better experience for our customers. And we know that we're never done with security, especially in the AI world. What really matters, however, is the results. Let's look at some examples. Amazon Pharmacy is using AI to improve patient care by automating the prescription process to speed up medication fulfillment and standardizing prescription instructions to make it easier for patients to understand and follow. Amazon customers shopping on the mobile app in the US can talk with Rufus, an AI-powered shopping assistant that can answer questions about your shopping needs and products, provide comparisons, and make recommendations based on conversational context rather than just searches. And in our logistics systems, we're using AI to power a new package decision engine that helps us determine the most efficient type of packaging, reducing the number of cardboard boxes, air pillows, tape, and mailers used to send purchases to customers, contributing to our sustainability goals. And while you're working to innovate and find new ways to improve customer experience, there are 4 areas that you should be focusing on as you start to move your generative AI solutions from ideation and proof of concept to production. First, you need to ensure the proper handling of sensitive data when training AI models. Take action now by leveraging the tools in the AWS cloud to anonymize training data and implement robust safeguards. Implement the appropriate data perimeters to help protect your valuable assets. Know what you have, where it is, and how it's stored. Who has access and for what purposes? And look at the logs and understand how that data is actually used over time. Secondly, and this is an area that's unique to AI applications, is trust boundaries for retrieval augmented generation, commonly known as RAG. You need to ensure that your AI applications are carrying the correct user context and only accessing data that users are authorized for. This critical control is already available in Amazon SageMaker and Amazon Bedrock. Thirdly, and I can't emphasize this enough, the critical role of testing, which should be specifically optimized for AI applications. You should be regularly and constantly testing your models with a comprehensive set of prompts to detect potential injection issues or data leakage. This is an area, by the way, with a lot of active research ongoing, so make sure you're connecting with the community and stay tuned to our AWS channels for more guidance here. And finally, you need to implement the appropriate security guardrails on the inputs and outputs of your system. With any AI implementation, there will be areas where you want to sanitize the responses that you provide to customers. You may want your model to avoid certain terms or even topics altogether. We recently released guardrails for Amazon Bedrock to help you in this area. There's a QR code up there that should help you find it. Just like your AI apps, your guardrails should be constantly evolving to meet the changing threat landscape. So, across Amazon, we're excited about what generative AI can and already is doing to help transform our business, and it's something we only expect to continue to accelerate. I hope that by sharing the way we've approached this exciting new domain, from culture to strategy to mechanisms, that you walk away with a newfound sense of confidence. The confidence to be able to move forward with generative AI at your own business knowing with the right strategy and culture in place, you can do so quickly without compromising on customer privacy or security. Thanks, folks. Now back to Chris.
Thank you, Steve. Really appreciate your insight on how we're looking at the security of exciting new technologies like generative AI across the company. I'm excited to be able to partner so closely with you here. Now, to wrap up for today, I wanted to come back to something we've spoken an awful lot about. No, it's not generative AI, it's culture. Because culture is at the heart of everything we do. We all know that best intentions simply aren't enough, nor is having unimaginably capable technology. At the end of the day, culture is at the root of it all. It's culture that leads to developing new habits within an organization in order to prioritize security. It's culture that drives us to design systems that are secure by design, not bolted on as an afterthought. And it's culture that teaches us to empower the individuals and operate the business in a way that doesn't settle, allowing us to remain agile while distributing security throughout the organization. Culture doesn't happen overnight. It takes constant investment and begins with a single motivated individual. I hope that over the course of this event, you're able to learn from one another, able to bring back some valuable insights that will help you shape a successful culture of security and build incredible technology at your own organizations. Thank you, and have a great conference.